So hi everyone, welcome to the Wormholes Roundtable. This is not a presentation from us, it's a listening to what you guys have to say, what questions you guys have. We'll have a group discussion, and we're here to talk about anything and everything connected to wormholes. So we can we'll just quickly go through the group of us devs who are here and say hi, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of us.
CCP Lebowski, one of the two QA analysts on T50.
CCP Habakuk, another QA analyst on Team 50.
CCP Psychotomy.
Psychotomy, all right. Yeah.
Game design with 50.
CCP Fozzie, another game designer.
CCP Larrikin, not on Team 50.
Former fellow.
CCP Masterplan, software engineer. I am on 50.
Larrikin's still honorary 50. You never really leave.
You can never leave Team 50.
All right. So basically, the way this will work, you have something you want to either comment, question for us, question for the group, want to get the discussion going, raise your hand, and we'll probably kind of swing around and then back and forth. So if you have to wait a while for your question, sorry. And we'll get started over here. Anyone got any questions? Yes.
C6 dual statics. Are there any plans for that?
I mean, not currently any plans. I know we've discussed this a lot in the past. I think it might be interesting to either make some changes there or add like some kind of crazy Thera-like C7 thing that spiders out to everywhere. That would be kind of cool too, but no promises at least. For like quick show of hands, who would want to see dual statics and C6s? And who would not want to see dual statics and C6s?
And who is living in a C6 right now?
Yeah, I mean, it might be interesting, but we'll see.
That allows super carriers.
Yeah, I always thought it'd be hilarious to have a C7. Again, not promising this, but it would be hilarious, and I think I just like the idea to have a high-end wormhole class that has a reverse mass limit, where you can only bring something through if it's capital size, and you like. There's like a C7 Dread Thunderdome that connects to all the other C6s.
So basically null sec in wormhole.
but with no frigates allowed. And no battleships and no nothing, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you'd have to bring them in, and maybe no structures, so that you have to like temper. Anyways, like a C7 shattered with a reverse, like large ship wormholes instead of small ship wormholes. That'd be good. Yeah. Yes.
It's not a design thing, it's more of a frequent bug. Lancet wormholes specifically have been very unreliable. Where you jump a wormhole that looks perfectly fine and you get this wormhole has collapsed. It's been happening increasingly. Has there been anything there? Have you tried alcohol possibly?
So yeah, we've got a defect on this that we keep whenever people have bug reports, we keep attaching information to it and looking for patterns of what actually is causing this. Anything you guys want to say about I mean, it's sort of a ongoing. We can't reproduce it at will, so it's really challenging to fix. But kind of bug.
So there's a few bugs like this that crop up around wormholes, and it's often based on something to do with the fact that they're using a distribution system that we use for missions or anomalies and things like that. I know that maybe Larrikin could talk to this a little bit. I know that Paradox on your team, who has kind of taken at least partial responsibility for some of these bugs, has been trying to get some time to at least add some internal logging around these events or increase the amount of internal logging we have to try and work out what's going on. But there's unfortunately, we don't have them in a state right now where it's a matter of we know the problem and we want to fix it. It's more that we need to dedicate time to finding out what the hell's going on and then dedicate time to fixing it. So it's really high on our list, and I know Paradox is often I think trying to sneak some time in to do this.
I think Paradox and CCP Fozzie just added additional logging to try and catch this bug. But then FanFest happened, so
Part of the transient nature of wormholes is that often when we find these issues, or when they're reported, it's long gone, and we can delve through the logs, but there's only so much we can learn. So yeah, it's so high on my list. Paradox and I are constantly having coffee break chats of, have you got some time for this yet? Oh.
This would be so much easier if we just had gates for you guys.
Show of hands, gates.
Maybe it's to make it stabilize the wormhole. So
Yeah, some kind of structure that stabilizes the wormhole.
But on that subject, it's always super, super valuable to get more bug reports on this. Ideally, as soon as possible when it happens, with exactly where you were, what wormhole it was, what any details you can give are really appreciated, because we're still trying to find the pattern of what causes this. So,
if you find any pattern or whatever on it, on when it happens, in which circumstances or whatever, then please also tell us about this in bug reports, etc. As this can really help us to find the reason for it.
Especially if anyone figures out how to either see it coming, like predict when it's going to happen, or cause it to happen, definitely, because that would be really helpful for letting us narrow down what's causing it.
And don't abuse it. Let us know.
Yeah. Yeah. No one would ever abuse anything in wormholes. No. Yes.
Follow up on that. We were in a bomber conflict one night. We rolled 5 holes. All of them, the moment one of the scouts tried to jump through, collapsed.
Did you bug report it?
One after another. I think someone did.
I think someone did is not a yes.
that's the phrase that haunts QA.
Yeah. That sounds like something that we would like to fix.
I think someone wants to fix that.
Yes.
Okay, there's a game mechanic that's actually relevant, very relevant, except in wormholes, everywhere else. But it's like preparing your fleet and then logging it off. And then you just log in where you know the end fleet is going to be, and you have no clue on that. And that's kind of, I think, it's bad gameplay. And there should be some ways to figure out if there's people logged off in the system.
Well, man, it's been a long time since we've had the log-on, log-off trap discussion in Fanfest. This used to come up all the time.
That's not even on the CCP bingo card.
I guess this is like a straight up, like this is like a five years ago, I think, the last time. Anyways, it's always a little bit awkward, the ability to kind of get a gameplay advantage by logging in and out. But the other flip side of the coin is it is a video game and we have to let people log off. We could just force everyone to be playing all the time.
What happens if you could, if we did have some mechanism?
We use it all the time.
You would just find out where someone was logged off and wait for them. All right,
but think about it, it's 24/7. So they don't have eyes.
But I know this guy gets home from work at about this time and logs on this time every day because I've seen him in local.
Yeah, but then there's structured timers, you know that the time when you need to be on it. So.
Yeah.
But a couple of things.
In case space, you can use locator agents.
Yeah, but a couple of things comes to my mind. Then you have a timer for you cannot shoot for some time, or you cannot use any aggressive modules if you do that. Or then, as the technology goes on, we might have some sort of trace of signatures when people log off and you can probe the area. You have an idea that there's old signatures, so you have an idea that there's going to be big ships, small ships, some amount of the numbers, so you can actually match the fleet.
So the first one of those, I think, is especially interesting. It's always we always need to be really careful about making it too punishing to log on again. A really core part of our business model is that we want to make sure that if someone's not playing EVE and they decide they would like to start playing EVE for the day, that they can do so. For the other one, though, for some kind of immunity, it would have to come probably alongside the ship is immune for that period, because it would suck if you log in and you can't fight back and people can shoot at you. But some kind of enforced gate cloak that you can't leave for a little while might be interesting.
Well, basically, if you have a PvE timer, weapons timer, you're still in the game, you log off, you log back on, no timer. But if you're gone or totally gone from the game, then you will have that timer. So you cannot actually initiate an aggressive move until somebody shoots you first. Then you can, of course, respond immediately. The timer is gone.
For a short, limited period of time, that might be interesting. Yeah, it would have to be a pretty short period of time, though. It would be really annoying if it was a lot.
Other guys have at least a chance to react on not being a bubble immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it might be interesting to explore stuff like that, but it would definitely have to come with either some form of immunity or, like you said, break as soon as you get shot at, because otherwise it would just be really punishing to get hit on that time. Yeah. You remember the olden days when you used to be able to bubble people up when they were e-warping back from their warp spot and they couldn't move, or they were stuck in the entering warp state and you could just kill them and they couldn't shoot back at all? And we don't want to do that again. That was not fun. It was fun for like 90% of the people, but not for whoever's getting caught in the e-warp. Yeah. Yes.
I get asked a lot of times, and always it's stack up in them use normal systems. Are they ever going to be starting like cycling after a week or anything like that? Any despawn timing on them? I
mean, they do cycle eventually, but you guys you run them a lot so that they'll keep stacking up. Yeah.
This is something we'd really like to fix. It's just a lot of work, basically.
There's a hacky way of doing it.
That we talked about a hacky way of doing it actually with the CSM, and then we immediately regretted talking about it because it was really hacky.
The less hacky way of doing it is that we are actually in the process of rebuilding some of our site distribution backend, which. It's always like one of those, you kind of jinx it by saying it, as we saw with the chat thing, but the first iteration should be fairly transparent to you. But then that'll give us more options in the future, and that might allow us to do some other cool stuff with this kind of distribution. I discovered a while back that there's actually there's something that sort of does this in FW. But it's really weird and
I found that recently.
Yeah, it's really weird and hard to figure out, and it's just like hard coded and yeah.
I think the programmer made an attempt to work a way around this. We're always aware of this when they were making faction warfare, and they put something in the code that tries to do this specifically for faction warfare dungeons under specific circumstances on a Tuesday when it's something. It doesn't work very well and it's very opaque.
We don't want to do that again.
No, that's not a good way of doing it.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, it's probably a bit early to talk about, but with the Triglavians coming out, and then possibly being at war with the Sleepers, is there any chance of us maybe seeing them carrying some drifter battle ships during some ice things? It makes sense.
There's going to be a very confused set of people listening on the SoundCloud. Yeah. I think that it's a cool idea to explore maybe more of the Triglavians moving out of just the abyssal dead space and into other areas, and maybe the drifters also moving out of there, because we've already seen the drifters moving into abyssal dead space. Yeah, there'd be some potentially cool options. Get some more three-way fights going on all over the place.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yes.
I want to ask a question about the sites in Wormholes, especially the high tire ones. Recently you made changes to the sites, 1 or 2 years ago. You used to be able to make a lot of money, a lot of risk on the sites. You could do it to the site for 4 days in a row. Now you can do it only one time. And ISK has significantly dropped in Wormholes.
That was intentional. That was 100% the intent. Yeah. I mean, it was the old farming method was really clever, but it was very unintended as well, and it was causing kind of money making that was out of control. And there's still plenty of good money to be made.
Definitely, but we live in Wormholes. It's a high risk environment. No local, get no warnings, like no tech. They can rot the same sites every day, all day, 24/7. But
I mean,
can do like 10 sites a week.
Yeah.
At the room. Especially for larger corporations, it is not enough risk being made for larger corporations.
So the question of what is enough ISK is one that can have a bunch of different answers, right? We intentionally decided that the old level of ISK was too high and toned it down. There is still, we also get like we just had a question in the game design panel about how ISK making potential is still too high and it should be nerfed more, and that's very subjective. But we're definitely not going to bring it back to the old way. We might increase it in some ways, like providing more opportunities for people to do something interesting to generate some more ISK. But I would not expect us to revert back to the old being able to refarm the same set every day.
Making it more like group content.
Yeah.
Instead of.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Drifter shipyards.
The thing is, one thing that gets clicked. We have to get our blue loot out of it and get it manually to sell. And if we are lucky, if somebody steals our blue loot,
it can happen.
We down and we get zero. That's why it at least should be a little more rewarding, because also some PvP aspects, since it's not rewarding anymore, nobody feels really something juicy targets.
Yep.
That way. So if it would be a little bit more rewarding, also again PvP content would be created.
At least in theory, yeah. I mean, it's always, again, the question of how much is enough money. Yeah. The question of how much is enough, it is very subjective, and you'll always every group in EVE will always say they're impoverished and can't make enough money, and that you need to nerf those other guys instead and buff me. And but yeah, it is something that we're always trying to keep an eye on balancing. We always have to also be careful though about increasing payouts, because that then feeds back into the economy, and we need to make sure that there isn't too much inflation too. So I'm going to continue going down this way, and then we'll swing around again. Yes?
No question, just a quick thank you for adding Moon Mining to Wormholes.
You're very welcome. How many of you guys have tried out Moon Mining in your wormholes? Yeah? What do you guys think so far?
It's great.
Yeah? Yeah. Very cool. All right. Yes.
I have a suggestion. I remember years ago when you announced the creation of Thera, and I thought it was a great idea, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of reasons to go there. What if we did something like Triglavian invasion fleets would periodically enter that space to draw people into it?
That'd be pretty cool. Maybe also into the Drifter wormholes, because they'd have a reason to go there and like mess some shit up.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
I mean, if these things are kind of wrecking the Drifter battleships, are you sure you want them? So be careful there.
Yeah, because in the Abyssal Dead Space, at least in the first iteration, it's balanced for one cruiser, right? Yeah. So imagine what kind of Triglavians we would make to be able to fight an arbitrarily large number of battleships.
Yeah. Well, the advantage with Thera is it's so big compared to other locations. Maybe you could do something like that.
You could do some cool stuff, yeah.
Interfere with something else that somebody else is doing there, but also draw in several fleets that might run into each other by accident while they're trying to engage them. So I think add a different mechanic.
Yeah, it's always good to create things that increase the chances of people being in the same place at the same time, because then conflict happens.
In worst case, you could create a whole wormhole. Like we have central wormholes, so we could have a complete wormhole just consisting of them.
Yeah. Just wall to wall.
Just like the ones that are occasionally wall to wall drifter bosses. Yes.
So you mentioned before and in the March update that you were holding off on the HIC, the 500 million HIC rebalance until you found a solution for Wormhole. Do you have anything more to share about that?
That's something we'll have to talk to CCP Rise about. His team's currently investigating that stuff. Okay. Yes.
So it's not really on the wormhole question, but about the signatures and exploration. There is some common knowledge floating around with consulators that if you complete a site in a region, this site respawns in this region. There was no evidence confirming this ever from the devs, and you can't really observe that because you need to be in each system and region to confirm.
It entirely depends on the will of Bob. The less jokey answer is I don't want to confirm or deny any specific stuff about this, but I will say there are some of these. Oh, this is just going to infuriate people. But it's great. Of the common kind of bits of urban legends about how all these systems work, probably 3/4 of the ones that I hear are not correct, and maybe about 1/4 are correct.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you foresee the new triglavian things that mess up modules affecting faxes and wormholes, which are already very broken?
So you're talking about the mutators.
The mutators can't go on any capital modules?
For the first iteration at least. Yeah, subcap only. Yeah.
Nice. You didn't specify that?
No, but I mean there's a lot of details that we didn't get to. That's a good point that we could have mentioned that in the presentation, but there's a lot of that kind of stuff.
It just makes sense because we calculated down with all the boosts, all the boosters that you have, agency boosters. With that thing up to 40%, it's applicable.
Yeah, one other thing to keep in mind is that we weren't entirely clear in the presentation. When we talked about up to 40%, not every stat can get up to 40%. So we balance each stat differently. So the cap use change on a microwave drive is balanced separately from the speed bonus, for instance, and balanced separately from the mass bonus. So we're not going to be allowing you to have a minus 40% mass bonus on a microwave drive because that would break everything. So each one of those we've gone and chosen the ranges, and then that's going to be something that we can rebalance on the fly too, and we'll be doing that from feedback on CISI as well. But yeah, for the really powerful attributes, they won't go up to plus 40%. Some will only go up to plus 10, some will go up to plus 15, plus 20, 25. In general, the stuff that'll be able to get up to plus 40% will be stuff that is a bit less overpowered for that to be at that range. Yeah.
Will this information be published?
Yes. So there's going to be, I assume there's going to be some dev blogs at some point, but it's also going to start getting on CISI for public testing soon. So this is just, consider Fanfest a teaser for all this fun stuff. Yeah. The actual ranges, I don't know if we'll publish the exact ranges, but you guys will figure it out anyways, so we almost might as well. But we could
actually, the UI, when you use a module, it says, you can change the attribute, from this to this. These are your possible outcomes. So...
Mm-hmm. So then you'll be able to find that out as soon as they hit CISI then. And of course that can be changed as we go.
Sorry?
Like the reverse engineering?
The invention stuff. Yep.
Yeah, okay,
Yep. Yes.
Given you talk about system effects playing a bigger part in Eve, is there any plans to bring more of that to wormhole space in particular? If not, is there anything in general in the pipeline for us as wormholers?
Mm-hmm.
A bonus question, do you have the same question throughout every single year?
Oh yeah, I mean that's Fanfest. Yeah. Every single year we get really, really drunk at the party at the top of the world and forget all the stuff from the roundtable, so it's great. We don't have any problem with the repeats.
Let me tell you about Shield Slaves. They're coming soon.
Yeah. So the system effects stuff, I don't know if there's nothing that's really planned for adding new system effects right now, but the UI improvements we made for system effects for the Abyssal Dead Space would be really nice. And
So in the Abyssal Dead Space, there's the weather effect that crosses the 3 encounters, and then the AoE effects, the localized AoE effects that take part in each of the 3 encounters. They all appear on your buff bar, and you can just move your your mouse over and see exactly what they're doing to your ship. So we would like to add that to Wormhole Space so that when you're in a... Okay, I've had a complete mental blank. Please, someone you shout out one of them. It'll tell you how it affects your ship.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes.
Is there any space to look at the power of faxes in wormholes?
Oh man, I want that so bad. It's one of the biggest disappointments I have about my job is that I have not had time to look at the power of faxes in wormholes. I have many ideas, some of them popular, some of them not. I think they need a straight up nerf, they just need to be worse. I also think that there needs to be more counterplay to how you can stop faxes being effective, whether that's by some of the stuff we talked about, like bombs that reduce their mote rep amount, maybe some sort of module you can put on, like I can turn this module on you when you I don't know, your rep turns to damage or something, I don't know. I've also talked a lot about capacitor boosters. Like I really like the idea of changing capacitor boosters entirely to more of a rapid system where there is quite a long reload time, and then you, instead of just like hitting the button and then reloading and hitting the button again, right? You actually need to like feather them off and on and off until you run out of capacitor boosters, and then you have like a 60-second reload time. I think that's a pretty cool.
Like an accelerate rather than.
Yeah, much more like that. I actually just think that's like good in for the whole game, but also helps with the fax problem. Part of me wants to add ECM back, but that's never going to fly, so that's not going to happen. Look, they just need a bunch of work. There needs to be more counterplay to them, and I'm super sorry that I haven't been able to do that yet, or that no one has been able to do that yet. No, you don't.
That topic, Alliance bookmarks.
They would be awesome, right?
They would be.
If only we'd remembered from last year.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the same answer we've given in the past. We love Alliance bookmarks. Do we still have? Is that bottle of vodka still in
There's
waiting?
still a bottle of vodka with I can't remember who gave it me several years back with open this when Alliance bookmarks were. And it's still sealed and it's still there.
Yeah, so it's gonna be the reward for whoever implements Alliance bookmarks. Yeah. So if you want to donate to that fund until it just grows and grows and grows,
is this legal?
Have like a whole room that's just full of booze. It's like
there's nobody from HR.
I think we can fresh fish for that and get it faster.
The team must consume it all in finish.
Yeah, and then okay. People finish in the feature and then immediately die of alcohol poisoning.
With a stomach pump.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
About shattered wormholes and the driven fleets that are in some of them, I'm sure you're aware of Vietnam. Has there been any consideration into how to deal with that? Because at this point, I think there's sort of no amount of threats things are going to be able to.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah, maybe.
It's the bosses, right?
Yeah, it's the bosses. Yeah, we have on occasion. So we do actually step in if they become a performance issue. We've culled them on occasion.
Yeah.
CCP Mimic has just gone in on a murder spree sometimes with an invulnerable ship.
She had one morning where she was like, "I'm just killing drifters."
But yeah, we've talked about potentially having things like a cap in the system, just so it doesn't get too out of control. I'd also really just like them to leave the system and go start conquering you guys. Yeah.
So I prefer that option.
Yeah. I also just want them to basically we just need to do a pass on their AI, so they do more things like if you attack one, all of them respond and they don't do retarded things, and maybe they start camping wormholes, not gates. Start camping wormholes.
They build a wormhole stabilizer.
Yeah, they build
We've talked a lot about how the idea that the kind of optimum gameplay is to leave a load of these in your system is not something that we ever really wanted to be the case with these drifter bosses. They're not scary enough, basically.
Yeah.
They shouldn't want to keep them around, and I think the part of that is that they are really, really, really tough to kill at this point. So I know a lot of people don't really see the benefit in killing these when you finish the anomalies, but also that leaving them all in your system isn't really super bad.
Maybe after a certain point, if the number of drifters gets to a threshold, then your wormhole gets local. And you have to kill them to go back to safety of no local.
Or just the drifters announce people in local.
Yes, yeah. It's like, hi, so and so.
There is, you've seen with the new NPCs the roaming NPCs from the shipyards and the fobs, though, that you've seen those attacking your structures. So it might not be that hard to get the drifters to do that. I mean, that wouldn't help in shattered wormholes, obviously, but
with the doomsdays,
yeah, that would be amazing.
We want them to destroy our structures.
Yes, yeah. Well, you got
I think we've got an okay from everyone here.
Yeah. So in 2 months, when Rage is somehow clear of citadels, yeah, they asked for it at the Wormhole Roundtable. It's not our fault.
made us do.
Yes.
What's the math like on the new trick ships?
I don't think it's been nailed down at the moment. I think the current authoring is somewhat like Amarian ships, but that is definitely up for tweaking. Would you guys be interested in them being maybe like a little on the low side for mass to help push a wormhole theme? Is that the question, I guess? Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. That's a question to especially ask CCP Rise. If you grab him at one of the, the pub crawl or the parties or stuff like that. We discussed that a little bit. At the moment they're kind of in the normal ranges, but it might be interesting to make that be part of the theme.
Test of size would be fine. There are kind of variants on the battleship one, isn't it? So that might.
Yeah. I think that is something that would be pretty cool for wormholes. The version that we have right now, it's not there's no RR strength bonus, but it's an RR cap use bonus. So you can you get almost like the RR for free. And so that's, I think, a really cool trait to give it. And again, I'm really hoping it brings back PvP RBS fleets as well, even though I know it probably won't. But those are always fun. You end up shooting your allies all the time. It's great.
And then you kill mode system. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Right, so... Strike evidence that when you come into the game and weapon get the ships, the bookmark, the blueprints, and everything. Once we get to sleep, the little ones.
So Triglavians are the first ancient humans ships that you'll be able to fly, any of the precursors. But they're not going to be the last. I won't go into any more details about that. No promises about specifics, but
For a while, and no weapon systems, no stats for them, no nothing.
Wait, warm up.
Yeah. So like drifters right now they're in NPC form. There's nothing that we can kind of announce at this time or anything like that. But yeah, I think that it's cool to explore those kind of options. Think about it. Yeah.
What if we said there was a way you could have been flying these all along and you just never discovered it yet?
That was infuriating.
I didn't say that.
Yes.
Frigate holes for evictions. Is there any way that we can roll them or come up with a better solution than our current hoping the server ticks let our hits jump through it with heavy mass?
You can roll them.
You can roll them. You can roll them.
Yes, using the server tick issue. No. This is my problem.
It's heavy interest.
Oh yeah, how do you do that?
Hey guys, let's take this conversation offline.
No, it's just because when you're doing an eviction with say 20 people and you get a frigate hole in your hole, and you're already controlling all the other holes, it becomes a huge liability.
Yep. They were intended to be a huge liability, though, in general.
And they were never intended to be rollable either.
Yeah, I mean, like players finding a way is cool, but so I'll say they're intended to be something that makes wormholes less controlled, and the ability they take some of that control out of the hands of players is the intent. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so are the drifters still harvesting capsuleers?
Yes.
They are?
Yeah, they'll pick up your corpses if you give them to them. Yeah.
Can they do that faster? Okay. Are we going to be somehow integrated into them? And what is the future of their presence in Wormholes?
How do you know you haven't already been integrated? No, I mean, like that's the details of the lore stuff. CCP Delicacy would be a good person to talk to for most of that. I think the answers are going to be, sorry, we don't want to give any more details except for what's sort of available through the through like the chronicles and all that stuff.
More of a strong presence in Wormhole?
I think it would be cool to expand that a little bit. The kind of current step that we are on that storyline is the Abyssal Dead Space, but there's elements of that I think would be interesting to push into Wormholes further. Yeah. But yeah, they definitely still collect corpses, and I don't think you need to. Yeah, it's not for some future It's not for some future thing. It's for an ongoing thing.
So if I just go into Wormhole, drop off a corpse, they'll just come over and take it?
If they see a corpse on their grid with them, yeah. So I mean, they don't like probe them down or something. But yeah, they tractor beam corpses. Yeah, and it basically it's just the actual like game mechanics side of it is that when they're doing their thing, if they see a corpse, one of the things that they'll do is they'll tractor beam it up and scoop it, and then if you destroy them, actually you can get the corpse out of the drop. It's. There's a reason they do it.
We wanted to expand that functionality actually so that other NPCs would do that, like they would go kill you and then loot your Rex and then like fit your modules so the NPCs would become more and more powerful.
Yes.
Still one advertising opinion on chatting wormholes. Do we feel like they're in a balanced state? Are people seeking them, using them, utilizing them for the gas fields or the connections, or are they in a state future?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to you guys a little bit about what we see in the metrics with them, but I'd be interested in what you guys do. You have how many people regularly or work with the shattered wormholes in some way, take advantage of the things like the ice field, some of that. Yep. What we tend to see in metrics is they come in bursts. So people will, like activity in a shattered wormhole is very rarely consistent. Instead, it'll be empty, and then for like 2 weeks, it'll be really busy, and then empty again. Which basically kind of fits with what you'd expect, right? Yeah. Yes.
About wormhole secondary initialization. Like unit mark there. Do you have any metrics how many wormhole systems are disconnected for like every day? Like if there's like 10% of systems no one will visit and they have no active wormhole connections that are basically open to any other systems?
We don't have... We have the ability to have those metrics. We are recording that information, but I haven't personally looked at anything like that. And now I really want to. So that seems really interesting, actually.
Because I'm really interested, like how many wormholes are not actually open at all after downtime.
Yeah.
So that'd be systems that just don't get loaded at all during the whole run.
Yeah, I mean, we probably wouldn't share that with you.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as you will look at it.
But I'm sending myself an email right now to check that out.
Yeah, we definitely be able to look that up. Yes.
The skills for
Triglavian chips. Yeah.
Are they only obtainable through going through the...
At least at this time, yes. Yeah. So the skills will be attainable there, blueprints, some materials that are required to build this Triglavian stuff, like the disintegrators and the ships, and the ammo for the disintegrators. I don't think we've fully decided that, but I think more likely they'll follow kind of a faction ship sort of pattern where it's VPCs.
So they'll require normal materials and special resources from Abyssal Space. So even if there's a BPO, it's like that, they're not just a free for all. There would still be a limited amount that could be built.
Yeah.
But we just haven't decided.
Yes.
Have you considered a structure with a much shorter anchor time than 24 hours for things like a temporary staging structure for wormhole evictions? And if you have, are they going to be implemented before you remove positives?
So the first part of the question, definitely yes. Second part of the question, probably yes, but no promises entirely for that.
Kill wormhole evictions for the night.
Yeah, you guys will find a way. Wormholers are much like hermaphroditic dinosaurs. They will always find a way. Wormholes are much like hermaphroditic dinosaurs.
So basically, yeah.
So
that's the structures presentation.
Yes, we are going to talk about some of the ideas we have in that direction. Structures presentation, but also in general, whenever someone's there's a suggestion of nobody will be able to do evictions with or nobody will be able to do X thing connected with wormholes if something happens. I think the only real proper answer is a full life finds a way. You guys are.
Can someone make a hermaphroditic dinosaur wormhole logo there? That is sick.
Yes.
So this half-joke question, as we're repeating questions in Fanfest, where will be there a module that decloaks other ships?
I mean, maybe someday. It's always been. It's questions come up a lot. It's also really. We definitely would not want it to be. If we ever did it introduce something like that, we wouldn't want it to be usable like near wormholes and gates and things like that. It would just be too powerful if you could do that. If there was some other kind of restriction, so they could only be used in deep space somehow or something that doesn't have a wormhole near it, maybe, but no current plans.
Have you considered how the Triglavian frigate weapon will work in the likes of wormhole effects, particularly for instance a Wolf Rate with a 600% bonus on a Triglavian frigate weapon is going to be a bit of a beast and applying over time? How's the multiplication going to work?
I mean, it's just a damage multiplier, and that'll just work normally. I think. Yeah. That I mean, it's percentage wise, it'll be no more like it'll have the same relative power compared to whatever other small weapon. But yeah, it'll be good in that space. Yeah. And yeah, Wolf Raids will be great because these are like armored. These are small weapons. Yeah, man. They're really good. Yes.
In relation to the earlier in the modules, they were talking about like potentially looking at the Loki with that. Are you looking at just nerfing the Loki or rebalancing the rest of the T3? Because if you simply bingo!
So,
Can you send that to CCP spam?
Not here, but I will do when I get back.
Yep. The answer is probably a little bit of both. Yeah, we're not going to like just nerf the Loki. We want to make some other tweaks. It's been especially, although it was the top dog before, so we needed to tone it down. The Proteus has suffered a little bit more than it probably should have, so we need to make some changes there too. Yeah, there would be more than just the one chip. Yes.
Larrikin, I was on a podcast with you a while ago and asked about math changes. They weren't in the patch notes, and you said they're mysterious and spooky. How much stuff in Wormhole Space is really meant to be mysterious and spooky? And we've had GMs recently tell us about the tooltips on wormholes, basically being the same. They don't really need anything to get the calculator is intended gameplay, but that could be wrong.
What did I say was meant to be mysterious and spooky?
Wormholes mysterious and spooky, so we didn't need to patch note the math changes.
I definitely didn't say that, but someone may have said that.
Podcast, you can go back.
How long ago was this?
Probably a year and a half ago.
Oh shit.
Again, though, anything that was before the party at last year's Fanfest, like you said,
inadmissible.
No memory.
Look, I think that's a really interesting question. I don't have a very satisfactory answer for you. I think this is like we as CCP, like we bounce around with this quite a lot. For example, with a lot of the forward operating bases and the shipyard stuff that we release, we purposely did not release any dev blogs that went into details about exactly how they worked. And then we changed a bunch of stuff about them that you guys still haven't figured out, and we didn't go release any dev blogs about how that worked because we wanted players to like discover that for themselves, because that's cool, right? There's part of that's cool. There's also part of that that's just frustrating. Like, this means something to me when it doesn't. Like, I think this means something and it doesn't, and I think this doesn't mean something and it does, right? I don't have an answer about how mysterious and spooky wormholes are meant to be. And whatever we think about them right now will change in the future from more mysterious and spooky to like, this is exactly how the sausage is made.
You never want to know that.
And you never want to know that. But I do think that out of all of our game systems, wormholes are the one where we just the least clear, and that's quite purposeful, right?
I think initially in the start as well, it was very purposeful.
Yeah.
That it was, and I think it's probably worth holding our hands up and saying that in some cases,
we've let the ball.
That has been used as an excuse for
Yep.
how broken wormholes can occasionally be. So I can see why it would be.
There's nothing more
GM to
mysterious and
say
spooky
that.
than something that's bugged.
Yeah,
That's the
like,
best.
we can just say it's mysterious and spooky, and then it's fine.
And I'm sorry about that. Like on behalf of CCP, I'm sorry that sometimes we screw up. And
Particularly on toolkits, though, how accurate should they be?
Some-
Because we have our GM say that they're not meant to be accurate.
So they were meant to be within a range, but then the simplified version of implementing that was to actually not have them be within a range.
If it's correct and it doesn't say it's correct, it doesn't show that it's correct and we jump and it closes, is that our fault? Is it mysterious and spooky, or is that our fault?
I think that's actually probably part of the bug that was being mentioned earlier. I'm sure people would probably in different places would probably disagree with me, but the thing that within reason, the thing that the window's saying should be accurate.
Yeah.
And any vagary should be designed in text and not just the text is saying something. So yeah, I think that's a bug in that case.
If something moves through the stages really quickly, the UI might not update right away. But in these cases, we're talking about stuff that you're like, it's
fine, and then it collapses straight away. That's
Then it's very likely a bug, but don't expect any reimbursements for this or whatever. Please report it to us as bug report, so that we know that something is probably wrong, so that we can look further into it.
Your GMs lately, they reimburse everything.
I mean, the reimbursement stuff they have their own policies of how that is all done. But just saying that's not that's a separate thing from bug reporting too. One thing to keep in mind is that if you ask for reimbursement, that isn't the same thing as a bug report. So we don't find out about it, for instance.
Yeah, we were saying this in the QA roundtable earlier. If anyone was there, the difference is if you want something done for you, submit a support ticket. If you want the thing to never happen to anyone again, then please support a bug report.
And never happened to you again. Too.
That's anyway.
Generally, I'd also say that if you're not sure, you probably if you're not sure if it's a bug or spooky, probably just put in a support ticket, right? I think, right?
No, in that case, I'd probably put in a bug report.
Sorry, bug report. Yeah.
See how easy it is to get them.
Dyslexic.
Suggested, and you agreed, is that open a bug report, give the number, and then reference that in the support.
Yeah, a reference between the two is absolutely perfect. Yeah, and often I think actually all the gameplay teams will have a liaison from the GM department, and they're really great at kind of surfacing these things when they can to us, and especially when there's a link like that, it allows us to have that conversation a lot easier, make that conversation a lot easier. So yeah, that's always great to reference in either side or one to the other.
So we've got about 5 minutes left, so let's try to do a bit of a lightning round. Yes?
Do you have any comments on the massive amount of desync during these sequence space?
Bug report it when you find it. It is something that we've been hearing some reports about, but it's always really it's really helpful to get details.
And talk directly to me after this round.
Yeah. Yes.
Sleeper salvage ever used for anything else?
Maybe. Next. Yes. Whenever we get really thirsty.
Double bingo.
we already got that question. We'd love to do it. Don't have any dates or anything. Yes.
As far as I understood, upload structures will add storage, jump bridges, and so on. Are there any mind games to end in the long run wormhole generators in the future?
Mostly just when we're trying to troll you. Next. Yes.
I saw something mentioned about cap transfer diminishing returns, and circling back to the facts talk, has anyone considered diminishing returns for remote reps?
So
we have considered it. There are a bunch of technical sort of things with that. Let's not talk about them at this second.
Yeah, and just quickly that the stuff we mentioned was actually not about cap transfers; it was about cap recharging.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
lightning round.
Wormholes, future of wormholes. Okay.
Spooky.
A lot of unique aspects already, effects of the ships and everything. Gas clouds, okay, mostly primarily in wormholes. But you can find gas clouds elsewhere. Now, is there going to be anything specifically unique to wormholes coming in the future?
I'm sure there will be over time. At the end of the day, a lot of because Eve's such a big game, we try to reuse the basics of content. So although there's gas clouds in other space, gas clouds and wormholes, they're different gas clouds that are used to make different things. So in general, you're going to see a lot of that. Whenever something gets introduced in other aerospace, we'll have a version for wormholes or a version vice versa, because it's really efficient for development.
The premise of my question is, what's my incentive for really going into wormholes? Like, where am I really?
It's a whole different set of gameplay, basically, right? So I mean, that's at the end of the day. Yeah.
Wrong crowd. Wrong crowd.
You provoked the
All right, I mean, but I guess the really short answer for that is Tech 3 stuff. Right. I think that'd be really cool. Yeah. Yes.
More anomalies.
More of them? Yeah, I mean that might be interesting. We also we wanted to see how the mining and moon mining in wormholes would help with that, and be able to give people a bit more consistent mining. It might be interesting to see kind of how that works out, and then if there's basically more demand for more mining, we can maybe crank the numbers up at the spawning rates. Yeah.
I really like the numbers on people using the array versus the anomaly. Like, has the use of anomalies gone down?
I actually don't know. That's a really good question to look at. Yeah, I've looked at the usage of the moon mining, but I haven't looked at the numbers for the anomalies. Yes.
So do you think that doing the PI, the basic static wormhole, is balanced the risk-reward ratio? Because you can be in entire space, do the PI in such wormhole and just extract it from there, but how does it change?
But I mean, in PI in general, there's ways to make it safe, where you always have a bit of risk, but you can keep that to a pretty minimal thing. And that's true in a lot of different situations as well. So, I mean, it's very strong, for sure. Whether it's too strong, it's a good question. It might be something that we need to reevaluate after we make the PI UI changes. Yeah. Sorry. Just quickly, we're going to be moving on to other stuff, so you guys can kind of walk and talk with us in the hallways a bit. But we are done with the session. Sorry, we need to let people move on to other stuff.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Stargate's still on the roadmap for us to be able to make.
Yes.
How's that going to change wormhole space? Like, are they going to be anchored?
In the first iteration, not in wormhole space at all.
Because that would change the eviction.
The first iteration of Stargates would be null-sec only. And then we can work on expanding.
But you have like wizard room.
We'll talk a bit about that at the structure.
Okay. Like basically.